Picture a stone city, so magnificent that when Europeans first laid eyes on it, they literally made it illegal to suggest black Africans could have built it. Imagine walls 36 feet high and 20 feet thick, constructed without a single drop of mortar, standing proud for over 800 years while European castles crumbled around them. This is Great Zimbabwe, not just ruins in the African wilderness, but the capital of a trading empire that connected China to the Mediterranean, where African architects perfected engineering techniques that modern builders still struggle to replicate. From 1100 to 1450 CE, the Shona people built the largest ancient structure south of the Sahara, a stone metropolis of 18,000 inhabitants that controlled gold routes worth more than entire European kingdoms. Yet for over a century, closed-minded scholars insisted this marvel must have been built by ancient Phoenicians, lost tribes of Israel, or anyone except the African ancestors who actually constructed it. Who were these master builders whose achievements were so threatening to colonial minds? How did they create architectural wonders using mathematical precision that wouldn't be understood in Europe for centuries? And why did the truth about Great Zimbabwe become so dangerous that telling it was literally a crime? I'm the ancientologist, and I spend my time uncovering the parts of history they don't teach in school. Today, we're diving into the true story of one of Africa's most sophisticated empires, one that rewrites everything you thought you knew about African civilization. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this journey into medieval Africa's greatest secret is about to reshape your understanding of this magnificent continent, the sacred granite foundations. Long before European cathedrals pierced medieval skies, the Shona people of southern Africa were selecting a site that would become the foundation of their greatest achievement. Around 1100 CE, Bantu-speaking cattle herders arrived in the fertile highlands of what is now Zimbabwe, drawn by rich grazing lands, temperate climate, and most importantly, freedom from the tsetse fly that plagued African livestock with sleeping sickness. These weren't nomadic wanderers. They were sophisticated pastoralists with complex social hierarchies, advanced metallurgy skills, and an intimate understanding of landscape architecture that would soon transform granite outcrops into stone masterpieces. The location they chose was strategically perfect, positioned on a plateau between the Zambezi and Limpopo rivers, controlling access to gold fields that stretched across the interior, with natural granite formations that provided both building materials and defensive advantages. Archaeological evidence reveals that the first settlers lived in traditional mud and stick houses, while gradually developing the engineering expertise that would create stone walls rivaling Rome's greatest achievements. Picture Shona elders studying granite boulders scattered across rolling hills, their experienced eyes seeing not just rocks, but the bones of a future empire. What drove these African architects to envision stone palaces where others saw only wilderness? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about these incredible foundation builders, masters of dry stone engineering. The transformation from pastoral settlement to stone city required engineering genius that European builders wouldn't master for centuries. Shona stonemasons developed dry stone walling techniques, constructing massive walls without mortar by fitting granite blocks so precisely that they've stood for 800 years without major repairs. This wasn't crude stacking. It was mathematical precision that required understanding of weight distribution, stress points, and geological stability that took generations to perfect. Master builders trained apprentices in guilds that guarded construction secrets through sacred oaths. Their knowledge passed down through oral traditions that preserved architectural wisdom more effectively than any written manual. Workers quarried granite using iron tools and fire-setting techniques, splitting massive boulders along natural fault lines before shaping blocks with hammers and chisels until they achieved perfect fits. The curved walls of Great Zimbabwe follow mathematical principles that distribute weight so efficiently They need no buttresses or reinforcement, a feat that amazed even modern structural engineers. Construction required coordinated labor forces, numbering in thousands, organized through complex social systems that balanced royal authority with skilled craftsmen's autonomy. Picture Shona masons working in synchronized teams, their chanted work songs echoing off granite walls as each stone finds its perfect place in an architectural symphony. How did these African engineers achieve structural perfection that European builders couldn't match even with mortar and machinery? The Hill Complex, Palace of Divine Kings. Rising from natural granite outcrops, the Hill Complex served as Great Zimbabwe's spiritual and political heart, where Shona kings ruled as divine intermediaries between earthly and ancestral realms. Built around 1250 CE, this fortress palace incorporated existing boulder formations into defensive walls that seemed to grow organically from the landscape itself, creating a seamless fusion of human engineering and natural geology. The complex contained royal residences, sacred enclosures for ancestral worship, and ceremonial spaces where the king conducted rituals that maintained cosmic balance throughout the empire. Archaeological excavations have revealed elaborate courtyards, sophisticated drainage systems, and storage facilities that held tribute from across southern Africa. Gold, ivory, copper, and exotic goods that testified to the kingdom's vast reach. The famous soapstone birds, carved with mysterious symbols that may represent royal totems or astronomical markers, perched atop stone monoliths throughout the complex, their enigmatic presence suggesting spiritual beliefs that European observers never understood. Royal wives and court officials lived in carefully planned quarters that balanced privacy with accessibility, their positions within the complex reflecting social hierarchies more sophisticated than feudal European courts. From these granite heights, Shona kings commanded trade networks that extended from the Zambezi to the Indian Ocean, their authority symbolized by stone walls that proclaimed divine mandate to rule. Picture the king performing ancestral ceremonies at sunrise, sacred smoke rising from granite altars, while subjects prostrate themselves below stone ramparts that seem to touch the African sky. What spiritual beliefs empowered these divine rulers to command such loyalty that subjects would move mountains of granite for their glory? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and make sure you stay until the end, because the secrets we're about to uncover get even more mind-blowing. The Great Enclosure, Africa's architectural wonder. The Great Enclosure stands as the largest single ancient structure south of the Sahara Desert, a massive elliptical wall that encloses an area larger than a football field and reaches heights of 36 feet, equivalent to a 3-story building constructed entirely from fitted stone blocks. Built between 1300 and 1400 CE, this architectural marvel required moving over 15,000 tons of granite, with walls so thick at the base, 20 feet, that they could support medieval siege engines, yet so elegantly curved that they seemed to dance across the landscape. The famous conical tower within the enclosure rises 30 feet into the sky as a solid stone monument with no doors, windows, or internal chambers. Its purpose remains one of archaeology's greatest mysteries, perhaps serving as a royal symbol, astronomical marker, or spiritual focus that connected Earth to ancestral realms. Master masons achieved perfect curves using mathematical principles that wouldn't be understood in European architecture for centuries. Their calculations preserved in stone that demonstrates African geometric sophistication rivaling ancient Greek achievements. The enclosure's entrances were strategically designed with narrow passages that forced visitors into single file, creating psychological effects of awe and submission while providing defensive advantages during conflicts. Interior structures included royal residences for the king's wives, administrative buildings for governing the empire, and storage facilities for tribute goods that flowed from across southern Africa. The double chevron pattern adorning the outer wall represents the only decorative element in Great Zimbabwe's architecture, a subtle artistic flourish that speaks to builders confident enough in their structural mastery to add aesthetic touches. Picture merchants from China and Persia approaching this stone colossus, their pack animals laden with silk and spices, overwhelmed by African engineering that surpassed anything in their homeland empires. How did Shona architects achieve such monumental construction without written plans or mechanical lifting devices? The Valley Ruins, heart of a thriving metropolis. Sprawling across the valley floor, the Valley Ruins house the majority of Great Zimbabwe's 18,000 inhabitants, making it larger than London during the same period and demonstrating urban planning sophistication that European cities wouldn't achieve for centuries. This wasn't a collection of random huts. It was a carefully organized city with distinct residential quarters, commercial districts, and specialized workshops that produced everything from gold jewelry to iron tools for both local use and international export. Archaeological evidence reveals houses with stone foundations, elaborate courtyards, and sophisticated drainage systems that prevented flooding during seasonal rains, while refuse disposal systems maintained public health standards superior to medieval European cities. Craft guilds occupied specific districts where goldsmiths, iron workers, pottery makers, and textile weavers perfected techniques that produced goods demanded across the Indian Ocean trading network. The city's water management included channels carved from solid granite that directed rainfall away from residential areas while collecting it in reservoirs for dry season use. Engineering that required understanding of hydraulics and urban planning centuries ahead of European developments. Market areas buzzed with activity as traders from across Africa converged to exchange cattle, gold, ivory, and agricultural products for imported goods from Arabia, India, Persia, and China, their transactions creating wealth that supported thousands of non-agricultural specialists. Streets followed logical patterns that facilitated movement of people and goods while maintaining residential privacy, their organization reflecting social planning that balanced individual needs with collective efficiency. Picture the morning bustle as smoke rises from countless cooking fires. Craftsmen hammer gold and iron into exquisite jewelry, and traders negotiate deals that will send African goods across 3 continents. What urban planning principles allowed 18,000 people to live together harmoniously in medieval Africa? Let me know in the comments what you think about these incredible urban achievements. And stick around, because we're about to dive into the global trade networks that made all this wealth possible. Masters of the gold trade. Great Zimbabwe's wealth flowed from its strategic control of gold mining and trading networks that connected interior African deposits to international markets, demanding precious metals for currencies, jewelry, and religious artifacts. The Shona controlled gold fields throughout the Zimbabwe plateau, using sophisticated mining techniques that included deep shaft excavations, hydraulic washing systems, and seasonal labor organization that maximized production while maintaining agricultural cycles. African miners were so efficient that by the time Europeans arrived, they had largely exhausted surface deposits, leaving later colonial operations with minimal profits, a testament to centuries of systematic extraction that funded the empire's monumental construction projects. Gold wasn't just exported raw. Shona craftsmen created intricate jewelry, ceremonial objects, and decorative items that commanded premium prices in international markets, their artistic skills adding value that multiplied the metal's basic worth. The kingdom's position between interior gold fields and coastal trading ports allowed rulers to tax every transaction, creating revenue streams that supported not just the royal court, but entire populations of non-productive specialists, architects, priests, artisans, and administrators whose skills built and maintained the stone city. Trade routes extended from Great Zimbabwe to the coast via the Sabi River, where African goods were exchanged for imported ceramics, glassware, textiles, and luxury items that demonstrated the kingdom's integration into medieval global economy. Chinese porcelain, Persian glass beads, and Arab coins found in the ruins prove that Great Zimbabwe's merchants traded with partners across the Indian Ocean, their commercial networks rivaling those of contemporary Italian city-states. The kingdom also exported ivory from elephant herds that roamed the African interior, with skilled carvers creating decorative objects and practical items that were prized in Asian markets for their quality and artistic sophistication. Picture caravans loaded with gold ingots and ivory tusks departing Great Zimbabwe for coastal ports, while return journeys brought silk, spices, and precious stones that filled royal treasuries with the wealth of 3 continents. How did African merchants build commercial relationships that spanned thousands of miles across treacherous seas and hostile territories? The spiritual heart of Shona civilization. Religion permeated every aspect of life in Great Zimbabwe, where the king served as divine intermediary between living subjects and powerful ancestral spirits whose favor determined the empire's prosperity, military success, and cosmic harmony. The hill complex contained sacred spaces where royal ancestors were honored through elaborate ceremonies involving music, dance, and ritual offerings that maintained spiritual connections essential for political legitimacy. Soapstone birds carved with mysterious symbols topped granite monoliths throughout the complex, their artistic sophistication suggesting beliefs about spiritual flight, ancestral communication, or astronomical observation that European visitors never comprehended. The Shona worldview recognized ancestral spirits as active participants in daily life, requiring regular communication through mediums, sacrifices, and festivals that united communities in shared spiritual practices that reinforced social cohesion. Archaeological evidence reveals ritual objects, ceremonial pottery, and sacred enclosures that demonstrate sophisticated theological concepts about death, rebirth, and spiritual authority that legitimized royal power through divine mandate. The king's role as rainmaker was particularly crucial in a region dependent on seasonal precipitation, with royal rainmaking ceremonies drawing subjects from across the empire to witness displays of supernatural power that validated political authority. Spirit mediums served as intermediaries between royal court and ancestral realm, their pronouncements influencing political decisions, military campaigns, and economic policies through spiritual guidance that integrated religion with governance. Annual festivals transformed Great Zimbabwe into a massive theater where thousands of participants, wearing elaborate costumes and carrying sacred objects, celebrated cosmic cycles that connected human community to universal order. Picture the king performing rain ceremonies atop granite altars while storm clouds gather overhead, his subjects convinced that royal prayers control the very heavens that water their crops. What spiritual beliefs were so powerful that they could inspire people to build stone monuments that rival the pyramids? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't go anywhere, because the story takes a dramatic turn when Europeans arrive and refuse to believe what they're seeing. Great Zimbabwe stands as eternal proof that Africa has always been a continent of genius. Master architects who built stone cities without mortar, brilliant engineers who created structures that have lasted 800 years, and sophisticated rulers who governed trading empires connecting 3 continents. For over a century, racist ideology tried to deny this African achievement, making truth itself illegal and destroying archaeological evidence that contradicted European assumptions about racial capability. But stones don't lie, and neither do the oral traditions of people who never forgot their ancestors' greatness. The story of Great Zimbabwe teaches us that the greatest threat to ignorance isn't education. It's the simple act of listening to voices that power prefers to silence. Today, when we walk through those ancient granite corridors, we're not just visiting ruins. We're bearing witness to the triumph of truth over prejudice, the victory of evidence over ideology, and the enduring power of African achievement to inspire the world. The stone birds that once topped Great Zimbabwe's walls now soar on Zimbabwe's flag, proclaiming to the world that this achievement can never again be denied, diminished, or destroyed. Their legacy reminds us that human greatness comes in many forms, from many places, and speaks many languages, but it always speaks truth to those willing to listen. What aspect of Great Zimbabwe's story moves you most? The architectural mastery, the global trade connections, the fight against racist denial, or the ultimate triumph of truth? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep celebrating the African achievements that shaped our world. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. There are more forgotten African civilizations waiting to reclaim their rightful place in human history.